This is Declan Rice.
It's Rice. What a goal! Declan Rice!
This is Moisés Caicedo.
Not once but twice. Caicedo, is he going to try and beat him from inside his own half? Oh, Moisés Caicedo! I can't believe it!
This is Rice again.
It's Declan Rice again! Oh! What a goal from Declan Rice!
And this is Caicedo again.
Samiro got his head to it. Oh, how about that on the volley?
These two are the best midfielders in the Premier League. Two massive transfers in 2023, and two players who came into Arsenal and Chelsea with world record price tags and huge expectations.
Well, Chelsea are set to break the British transfer record again after agreeing a £115 million deal for Brighton midfielder Moisés Caicedo.
Declan Rice and a possible move to Arsenal. We said just a few moments ago that we were expecting Arsenal to go back in with a second bid. It's our understanding the bid is now in. They have tabled a £90 million offer to West Ham for Declan Rice.
Rice left West Ham for Arsenal in a £105 million deal after becoming their captain and leading them to a European trophy. Caicedo moved from Brighton to Chelsea for around £115 million, breaking the British transfer record after helping Brighton reach their best ever Premier League finish. Chelsea fans wouldn't sell Caicedo for any price right now. Arsenal fans would pay another $100 million to West Ham, and they would tell you that Rice would still be a bargain. By the end of this video, you should have enough information to settle the debate. But this isn't just about picking one over the other. It's about understanding what makes each of them so special. Their strengths, their weaknesses, their style of play, how they move on the pitch, and how they became £100 million players in the first place. Because these guys didn't just show up one day as £100 million midfielders. Both had very long and interesting paths that led them to Arsenal and Chelsea. Rice's story actually starts at Chelsea itself. Yep, he was in their academy as a kid, but they released him at 14. Most players would have given up, but Rice didn't.
How do you tell your friends that you've been released by Chelsea?
Letting you go at 14, how was that, having been there since the age of 8?
It was heartbreaking, honestly. I couldn't imagine. One of the worst things I've had to go through as a 14-year-old. I just broke down, I was gutted.
Like I said, Chelsea as a kid, it was all I ever knew, so I thought, where am I going to go? What am I going to do from here?
He joined West Ham's academy, worked his way up, and made his senior debut in 2017. From there, he just kept climbing. Year by year, he became more important, more consistent, and just more respected in the league. By the 2022-2023 season, he wasn't just a starter, he was West Ham's captain. And as the captain, he led them to a massive moment, winning the Europa Conference League. That trophy felt like the perfect goodbye, because everybody knew he was ready for the next level. By that point, people were already calling him one of the best young midfielders in England, and Arsenal agreed. They paid over £100 million to bring him in. At that point, he was just 24 years old, but he had already made 200 plus appearances, had become a full England international, and built a reputation as a leader who could do everything in midfield. Caicedo's road was totally different. He didn't grow up in England, and he definitely didn't start at a big club. Brighton signed him from Ecuador in 2021 for around £4.5 million, pretty much nothing compared to what he's worth now. He spent some time on loan in Belgium, slowly learned the game in Europe, and then broke into Brighton's squad in 2022. Under De Zerbi, he exploded. He played almost every single Premier League match in the 2022-2023 season, and he was a huge part of Brighton's best ever league finish, which was 6th place. That got the Seagulls into Europe for the first time ever. At that point, people noticed. Big clubs started calling. Arsenal, in fact, tried to sign him in January of 2023, and he even posted on social media saying he wanted the move, but Brighton said no. Then came the summer. Reportedly, both Liverpool and Chelsea had reached out to him. Liverpool had accepted a bid, but Caicedo wanted Chelsea, and only Chelsea.
Moisés Caicedo has rejected the chance to join Liverpool.
The Blues pushed, the Seagulls held firm, and the fee went all the way up to £115 million. The guy went from being worth $4.5 million to $115 million in just 18 months. Bro was giving you a better return than crypto. And remember, he did all of this at just 21 years old. Rice and Caicedo made their giant moves only weeks apart. And it's funny because Arsenal tried to sign Caicedo and Rice came from Chelsea's youth system. So technically their careers could have easily gone the other way around. Instead, Rice has become Arsenal's midfield anchor, and Caicedo is doing the same thing for Chelsea. Now, after their huge transfers, everyone wanted to know one thing. How would these guys look at their new clubs. Well, their starts couldn't have been any more different. Rice settled into Arsenal like he'd been there for years. The price tag didn't shake him, the pressure didn't bother him, and the fans loved him instantly. His big "I'm here now" moment came early. In fact, in his 4th Premier League game. It was Arsenal versus United, and in the 96th minute, he smashed in a deflected shot to make it 2-1. The Emirates went wild, and Arsenal ended up winning 3-1. That goal cemented him as a fan favorite. Arteta first used him as a pure number 6, but over the season, Rice's role changed. He was often pushed forward as a box-to-box midfielder, playing as a left-sided number 8, but he could also play deeper as a sole pivot in between the center backs. His versatility became one of Arsenal's biggest strengths. The Gunners finished the season as serious title challengers, and Rice was one of the biggest reasons why. He brought power, leadership, and calmness to a midfield that really needed it. He also technically won his first Arsenal trophy that season, which was the Community Shield. I know it's a tin pot cup, but still technically it's a trophy. Overall, year 1 was a big success. He was consistent, reliable, and super impactful, and he carried that momentum into the next few seasons. Caicedo's start, yeah, it was a little messier. He was joining a new club with a record fee with huge expectations, and he didn't get a preseason. So when he made his debut against West Ham, everything was rushed. He came off the bench and gave away a late penalty. Chelsea lost, and the media jumped all over him. But Pochettino told everyone to relax, and eventually Caicedo began to settle. Once he got a few games under his belt, you could see why Chelsea paid so much for him. He grew into that number 6 role, building his chemistry with Enzo Fernandez, and his ball winning became a major part of how Chelsea played. Even though Chelsea's season was inconsistent, Caicedo quietly kept improving. And then came his big moment. Against Bournemouth, Caicedo picks up the ball near the halfway line and chips the goalie from more than 50 yards out. It was a ridiculous goal, and it won Chelsea's goal of the season. As you know, with holding midfielders, they never get appreciation until they score, so that moment was his, okay, he's arrived moment. Chelsea finished in the top 6, which was a big improvement from the year before, and Caicedo's strong finish helped a lot. Rice came in early and instantly raised Arsenal's level. Caicedo struggled early, but ended his first season looking like a legit midfield anchor for the Blues. Now keep in mind, both teams were in very different situations too. Arsenal were already settled and ready to compete for titles. Chelsea were basically rebuilding from scratch.
Who would be missed more by their club?
Caicedo would be missed more. And there's no criticism of Declan, it's just that they've got a better squad. Arsenal have a better squad, they can shift players around, Zubamendi can go and sit in that 6th position, and they've got other players to play in the 8s when they've got players fit. If Chelsea was to lose Caicedo, takes out their heartbeat, takes out all their energy, all their firepower, all their aggression.
Now though, both midfielders have proven one thing. They weren't just expensive signings, they are essential parts of their teams. They get compared all the time because of their price tags and positions, but the truth is, they really don't play the same way. Yes, they're both classified as midfielder. Yes, they're both strong defensively. But how they play and what they're asked to do is actually very different. Don't just take my word for it, listen to Rice himself. He said that Caicedo is a 6, while he's a box-to-box 8.
And it's Caicedo, and you'll be well aware there's been a lot of talk about Rice and Caicedo all season.
First and foremost, I have a lot of respect for Moisés. I've played against him since his Brighton days, since I was at West Ham. I voted him last year in my PFA Team of the Year. I thought he was outstanding last year. We are playing different positions. He's a full-blown 6 and I'm a more box-to-box 8.
At Arsenal in the first season, Rice played as the 6 protecting the back line like a condom towards the back end of that season, and in his second season, Arteta pushed him further as a left-sided 8. Now he's permanently an 8 thanks to the arrival of Zubamendi. He is basically doing a hybrid role, sometimes defending deep, other times joining the attack. He's everywhere. Caicedo, on the other hand, has mostly been a pure 6 for Chelsea. He plays as the deepest midfielder. His job is to win the ball, break up attacks, and keep possession. He stays behind the play way more than Rice. Now Caicedo can do more. At Brighton, he played as a number 8 a few times, and even back in Ecuador, coaches said that he had the tools to be a box-to-box player. Chelsea, though, simply need him to sit deeper. Now both are excellent defensively, but in different ways. Caicedo is elite at ball winning. He reads the game fast, reacts quickly, and loves flying into challenges. As we will see later in the video, that might be one of his few weaknesses. The numbers support the eye test. He had the most interceptions in the Premier League in 2025. He's always top for tackles and possessions won. He wins way more ground duels than Rice. He has around a 61% success rate in ground duels, and he cuts out dangerous passes better than almost anyone. For example, he averages 2.7 interceptions per game, while Rice only has 0.9. Caicedo is like a vacuum cleaner in midfield. Anything that's loose, he just eats it up. I was gonna make a more sexual reference, but I'm gonna keep it PG for this video. Rice, on the other hand, hand, is more controlled and positionally smart. His strengths are that he's much better in the air. He's taller and more dominant physically. He wins way more aerial duels. He also clears danger more often, averaging more clearances per game than Caicedo. And he's very reliable with his positioning. And he doesn't try and kill players. On the ground, Caicedo is much better. In the air, Rice wins easily. Now, whether you're Team Rice or Team Caicedo, now is the perfect time to rep your midfielder. If you want Rice's Arsenal shirt or Caicedo's Chelsea shirt, you can grab them from buygamejerseys.com and use code PETTALKS at checkout for a discount. Now, when it comes to passing and ball progression, their styles look completely different. Rice has really improved his passing at Arsenal. It was always good at West Ham, but it's gotten even better. He switches the play easily with long balls, he breaks the lines brilliantly, he creates a lot of scoring chances. For example, he plays almost twice as many long passes as Caicedo. He creates way more chances than him, which is natural given he plays more forward, and he completes more passes overall, especially, of course, as given in the final third. He's more involved in the attack, so therefore he's more likely to attempt risky passes to unlock defenses. Caicedo, since he plays deeper, is safer and more secure on the ball. He's very good under pressure, he keeps the ball moving calmly, he rarely loses possession, as proven by his ridiculous 94.5% passing accuracy versus Barca in the Champions League. So Rice attempts more long passes, he's a chance creator. Caicedo's more safe, but he's very press resistant. Now, neither of these guys are known as dribblers, but Rice is much better at carrying the ball. He drives forward with power, he rarely gets tackled. Sometimes when this guy gets going, he legit moves like Yaya Toure. He wins the ball and then just runs through the midfield.
You ran the whole pitch and like there was like 5 people around you and then he backing off the defender and you just went bang bang goal. It was just so easy.
That's the thing, because I think the tougher
Do you think
players...
you could have done that more though? Like, do you know, like my brothers, my family tell me all the time, like now I'm starting to run forward with the ball more, go past people. They keep saying it to do it more and more, but with you, you've done that and scored goals. Do you think you could have done, there was some times when you thought I'd rather just pass the ball. Do you think like every time you got the ball, like you could have gone on a run?
Caicedo prefers to win the ball and then pass immediately. He's less about driving forward and more about keeping the play tidy. Now, neither of these guys is expected to be a high scorer, but Rice has produced far more. At Arsenal, Rice has gotten multiple goals and assists across his 3 seasons. Of course, he's been helped by the fact that he's on set piece delivery, and Arsenal treat corners like they're pens. But Rice has also scored a ton of goals from open play, he's gotten assists from open play. I mean, the man even got nominated for the Puskas Award for his free kick versus Real Madrid. He's become a serious attacking contributor. Caicedo is starting to add goals slowly. He got multiple goals early in the 2025-2026 season. Now, his goals are usually bangers. Look at his screamer versus Liverpool and Brentford. He doesn't create as much as Rice, but Chelsea don't use him in advanced positions, so it makes sense. Of course, both of these players are not perfect. They each have their own strengths and weaknesses. With Rice, his strength is that he's a natural leader. He captained West Ham in his early 20s, and even at Arsenal, you can see him organizing his teammates, talking non-stop, and really taking responsibility. I mean, if Odegaard wasn't captain, Rice could easily be the captain for the Gunners. Rice also doesn't fly into wild tackles like Caicedo. He reads the danger early, he covers space really well, and defensively he's excellent both in the air and on the ground, which helps Arsenal a ton against long balls, set pieces, and crosses. Then when he carries the ball forward, he can travel 20 to 30 yards easily. He uses his body well, he protects the ball. He's the perfect guy to turn defense into attack, and Arsenal love using him in transition. Then of course, when it comes to passing, he has a massive locker. Long diagonal balls, crossfield switches, through balls from deep. Like I said, he's hit more long passes than Caicedo and can change the tempo of a match with just one pass. Plus, he shows up when it matters. He's dominated midfields in Champions League games and scored clutch goals. He rises to the occasion. But he also has some weaknesses. He's a slow starter. Sometimes he needs a few minutes to warm into the game. Then short bursts of acceleration are not his strengths. So quick dribblers can get a half yard on him early, whereas someone like Caicedo would eat that guy up. Now, Rice can score and he's hit some screamers, but he's not the type to shoot often. Sometimes he chooses the safe pass instead of taking a chance. Now, that could be down to Arteta, but it's still a weakness that's being observed. Then when he receives the ball on the half turn, he's not the best midfielder in that area. In fact, that's one of the biggest reasons that Arsenal brought in Zubamendi. Sometimes Rice can go sideways or backwards. He's not as sharp turning into space with pressure on his back. He's improved a lot, but there's still much more room to grow. Then like I said, against sharp, nimble players, Rice can get beaten. Caicedo is a bit quicker in these tight spaces. But Moisés has his own strengths and weaknesses. Let's start with his strengths: tackles and interceptions. This is like Caicedo's superpower. The guy reads the game like crazy, covers ground, and then shuts down attacks so fast. As I said, he's consistently leading the league in interception and wins the majority of his ground duel. It's almost impossible to dribble past him. Then you have his work rate and stamina. Similar to Declan Rice, Caicedo runs non-stop. He presses, he sprints, he tracks back, he covers for his teammates. That quote about Conte and water covering the ground, you can say the same thing for Caicedo. Coaches love players like him because he just never disappears from a match. Then under pressure, he's ice cold. Hopefully Palmer doesn't sue me for using this. He doesn't panic even with 3 players around him. He'll find this simple pass and keep Chelsea in possession. He plays simple but smart passes, often with 1 or 2 touches. Just like Rice, Caicedo is also very versatile. He can play as a 6, he can play as an 8. Maresca's even used him as a right back sometimes. His speed and ability to read the play defensively lets coaches use him in multiple roles. Now of course he has weaknesses too. Because he's so aggressive, sometimes he dives in too fast. At times he can be a bit rash. He plays on the edge, which is good, but it's also risky.
When somebody knows they're in trouble and they react as if they've been hurt as well, it's a terrible tackle. The more you see it, and you should always look at it in context, at speed, but it's a terrible tackle.
And Moisés Caicedo, having played on the edge, has fallen over the cliff and is sent off for just the 2nd time in his career.
Then you have his limited attacking output. He's improving, but he's not naturally an attacking player. He rarely gets into the box, and even though he can play as an 8, I don't think he's going to make that many chances for you. Then as good as he is under pressure, he's only good at giving simple passes. He's improved a lot in this department. He can break lines, he's gotten multiple great assists, but it's still an area of his game that is weak compared to other central midfielders. Then his aerial ability, it's not bad, but it's not the best either. Compared to Rice, he loses more aerial duels simply because he's shorter and not really built for that type of duel. And then of course there's his lack of experience. He's still very young and hasn't had that many seasons at the top level. Sometimes that can lead to small mistakes or learning moments, but he's developing quickly. Now that we've looked at their strengths and weaknesses, let's see how they stack up on paper statistically. B's numbers mainly come from the past 2 seasons. Rice created more chances per game in the 2024-2025 season. He's well ahead of him in this season. Rice has also added more goals plus assists per 90 than Caicedo, which again is a given since he plays more forward. Caicedo, however, has completed more passes overall and has a higher pass accuracy. He's more reliable in possession, and again, that's because he plays deeper. Caicedo's made more tackles per 90 and more interceptions per 90 than Rice. In the 2024-2025 season, Caicedo also completed more take-on. Rice made slightly more clearances and won more aerial duels. What's funny is in the current season, Caicedo's right up there with goals. Historically, Rice has had more goals in previous seasons, but this year it's been different. Then when it comes to dribbling, Rice has completed more dribbles, he's had more touches, and was dispossessed less often. Caicedo, however, has drawn more fouls. Now, I was interested about this stat because you can interpret it in multiple different ways. It could indicate that Caicedo's tenacity causes teams to foul him more to stop counters, but it could also mean that Rice avoids these situations where he might be fouled by moving the ball quicker and being a better dribbler. Up for you guys to discuss, but when you look at the impact that the two of them have had on their respective clubs, it becomes very clear why fans argue about them non-stop. Both walked into huge pressure situations, had huge expectations on them, and had huge price tag. But within a season, both became absolutely essential to their team. I mean, ever since Rice joined Arsenal, their midfield has elevated to a different level. They're way more complete. Suddenly, Arsenal are not just close to competing, they are actually competing. When Rice sits deep, players like Odegaard and Eze can push forward freely. When he pushes forward himself, he adds goals and assists. Arsenal did not expect this from a defensive midfielder. Then off the pitch, he's been just as important. Arsenal's midfield went from good to one of the best in the league in a few seasons, and Rice is a massive reason why. Caicedo has had a similar impact for Chelsea. Yes, his debut was a nightmare, but ever since then, he's become one of Chelsea's most important players. The Blues have been rebuilding, and Caicedo has been the anchor holding everything together. When he plays well, Chelsea look organized. When he presses, wins the ball, the whole team just breathes easier. He's an elite ball winner, and he's had big moments too. He's had some long-range goals. He's had some standout performances like in the Champions League and Club World Cup. Performances that reminded people why Chelsea paid so much for him. He's very young, but he already feels like the heartbeat of Chelsea's midfield. So who's better, Rice or Caicedo? Well, to be honest, it depends on what you want. I know that's not the answer you guys were looking for, but it's true. If you need a box-to-box leader who can defend, pass long, and score big goals, that's Declan Rice. If you need a defensive machine who wins every duel and never panics under pressure, that's Moisés Caicedo. Arsenal fans will swear that Rice is the most complete midfielder out there. Chelsea fans will say that it's Caicedo. For now, both sides have gotten it right. Both clubs got the midfielder they needed. Both players have justified their huge price tags, and both control games in their own way. And both will define their respective clubs for the next decade.